today we'll try to see the different file formats, okay, and what is serialization and deserialization. Okay, let's try to understand those concepts. Okay, so there is a concept called SERDE. Okay, so let's understand what is SERDE. So SERDE is nothing but your serialization, okay, which is nothing but SE, okay, plus deserialization. Deserialization. Okay, so which is nothing but D. Okay, so I should have written SER over here. Okay, so SERDE is nothing but serialization and deserialization. Let's understand. I've already told like at the very beginning, but that was like not much. So again, like we just need to understand theoretically, not much into depth we can go. So what is the serialization is? Serialization is the process. Okay, serialization is the process of transforming structured structured objects. STRUCTURED. Okay, so serialization is the process of transforming structured objects, okay, into a byte stream. Okay, into a byte stream for transmission, where over the network. Okay, over the network for what? For writing the data to persistent storage. Okay, so this is the meaning, or this is the definition of serialization. So what is the serialization? Serialization is the process of transforming structured objects Okay, so what is serialization? Serialization is the process of transforming structured objects into byte stream for transmission over the network for writing the data to persistent storage. Okay, so if you see like when we were doing Scoop or when we were doing Hive, okay, so underneath what is happening is a Java program is getting executed, which is nothing but a map and reduce program. Okay, so whatever the Scoop, like if you take an example of Scoop, so Scoop, what it is doing, it is importing the data from your MySQL database. Okay, and when it is importing, it is writing to your HDFS file system, right? So what is happening is, so the MySQL database and the HDFS database, these are two different entities. Okay, so they do not understand each other, or they do not understand each other data types, to be precise. Okay, so what happens is, this person, serialization, what serialization does is it transform your structured objects into a byte stream. If you remember, like, see, when the data is getting stored over the network or to the some storage system or into a machine, the machine understands a computer language called of binary format, like 0 1s. Okay, so that is what is happening over here. Okay, so whatever the structured objects which are in a different form are getting converted into a byte stream. Okay, so which are getting transformed over the network, okay, for writing the data to a persistent storage. So that is the process which is called serialization. And deserialization, it is just a reverse process. So deserialization is the process okay, of transforming byte stream into structured objects. Okay, so it is just a vice versa over the network. Okay, so over the network for transmission, you can say, just same concept, only the vice versa. So okay, so if you see, when we used to write the data into the HDFS file system, sometimes what we used to do is we used to write the HDFS commands. Okay, so what exactly is happening, not exactly the HDFS command, let's take an example of Hive. Okay, so what Hive is doing is, Hive is building a table on top of your HDFS file system. So again, when Hive needs to read the data from the underlying HDFS file system. So the data is stored in the file in the form of byte stream, and the Hive database so understand the SQL language. So again, like these are again two different entities. How the data would be connected to these two entities. Again, this deserialization process happens. So whatever the data is stored in the serialized form, that is deserialized over the network, and we are able to see the data. Okay, so that is what is happening in serialization and deserialization, and this mostly happens for the binary file formats which we will be seeing today, like maybe like Avro, Parquet, ORC, and etc, etc. Okay, so if you recall the concepts that we have seen in Scoop, okay, there were a couple of file formats like sequence file format and the Avro data file format. So when we were doing the import for these two file formats, we were not able to see the data with the HDFS command, with the hyphen text command also. Okay, if you recall, okay, that was the thing. So I told you at that moment of time, once we move to the different file formats in Hive, we will be able to overcome this scenario. So today is the day we'll try to see how we can use different surdays and we can read the data. Okay, I'll try to show you that. Okay, so before moving, so we understood what is serialization and deserialization. Let's understand quickly what is row based versus column based file format. Okay, because this is a little important. Again, not much important, but nowadays, like most of the NoSQL databases follows column oriented. Okay, so let's see first one. Let's say this is my row based file format. Okay, so let's take an example. There is a table called employee table. So let's take few columns: employee ID, employee name, employee salary, and employee location. Okay, and let's take so understand the data. So let's say there are two records, 101. So the name is Saif, his salary is 100 rupees, and his location is, let's say, Mumbai. We all know like how the data is getting stored in the row base. So all the columns are available in the row format. Okay, let's write one more record. So let's say Tausif, let's say he's a salary of 200 and he's staying in Pune. So how the data is stored in the row based format? So in the form of row, okay, and columns. That is how the data is getting stored. So in the row based format, write is easy. Okay, write is easy, but read affects the okay, so but read affects performance, we can say, when we read only few columns or all columns. Okay, just to be precise, let's say few or all columns. So what happens is when the new record will come in, it will directly come and it will just directly sit under this like 103 and so on. Write is very easy, but when you are trying to read the data from that table, there you will find the latency of your queries. Okay, so that's why write is easy. Okay, write is easy, but when we read few columns, it affects the performance. Okay, the second thing is compression. Compression does not performs well over here. Okay, so let's say perform well in the row based file format. We know what we are talking about. Okay, so the third thing is again you can say for aggregations, there is time consumption. Okay, so let's say if in this table, let's say there are 1000 records, and if I want to find out the sum of salary, so what will happen, the entire record row by row, the line will be scanned in my table, and in that this row will be computed one by one. So 100 plus 200, 300 plus 3, somewhat, again the so on. So when we are trying to do aggregation, so there is like time consumption over here. Okay, so these are little 3 pointers when you go for your row based file format. Okay, let's see how your column based file format behaves. Okay, so we'll try to take the same table, which is nothing but your employee table. Okay, how the data is stored over here in your column base. Okay, so let's say first is your employee ID column. So how will the data will be stored? Let's say 101 and 102. Both the column values will be stored in a single column. That's how your column based data is getting stored. Let's say there is a second column, employee name. So what are the two names? Saif and Tausif. Okay, so what is the third column name? E-salary. Okay, so what is the salary for these two those two? So let's say 101 and not sorry. So the salary is 100 and 200. Okay, after that, what is the location? So the location is nothing but the Mumbai and Pune. So if you see in my column base how the data is getting stored, for each column the entire data is getting stored. Okay, so what happens in column based format? So write is not easy. Why write is not easy? Now because let's say if a new record is coming, as we have discussed, so here if the new record is coming, it is pretty easy to write the data. So let's say 103 Ram, let's say 300, and let's say he's staying in Palewadi. But when it comes to over here, so what will happen? It will have to go to each column, and at the end of each column it will have to append the data. Okay, so if you see, it is like a time consumption process. So here you need to write Ram, then let's say here you need to write 300. Okay, and here needs to write Balewadi. So after every column it needs to go, and it needs to write the data. So write is not easy in your column based format. Okay, so write is not easy in your column based format, but okay, so write is not easy as I said, but when it comes to reading the data, okay, but reads are performance effective, or let's say reads gives good performance. How reads will give good performance? Let's say I am trying to read employee ID column. So it does not need to scan all my 3 rows and all the columns. It just need to say, so if let's say I am trying to read, so let me take in spite of few columns, I'll say few columns. So let's say I want to read the employee name. What will happen? It will go to each row and it will pick out that employee name. So all the rows are getting scanned with my columns. But if the same query is executed in my column base, I want to read select e name from my table. So what will happen? Directly it will jump to this column and it will read the entire data and it will give the result. Okay, so that's why in your NoSQL databases reads are faster. Okay, second thing is compression. Compression works well, or compression performs better over here. How compression better performs over here? Let's say if I want to compress this table. Now if you see, if I'm trying to compress this row, it is having a different type of data. Okay, so the amount of time and the computation for compression, there will be like multiple process because the data is of different types. But when it comes to first, now it will see the integers are compressing, then again like strings are getting compressing, then integer, etc. But when it's to compression in your column based file format, if you see all the values are integer, so it will quickly do this. No doubt after this we are getting the string, but at least for a single column will have the same value, so it will give a little optimal compression as compared to your row-based file format. Okay, so that is the second thing. And the third thing is aggregation performs better. Okay, so aggregations performs, or let's say aggregation gives good performance. Okay, if you see the same example, I was saying like e-salary, so I want to find out the sum of salary of all my 1000 records. So what will happen, all the records will be getting scanned with individual computation or cumulative salary. So it needs to go for every row and do the computation. But when it comes to the same query in my column based file format, where let's say sum of salary, it will directly jump to this column. Once it jumps, it just need to do the computation sequentially for all the data which is happening. It does not need to scan the remaining columns. So if you see, from the entire 1000 records, only one column data is getting scanned, and even that is jumping to that column only and getting computed. So hence your aggregation gives good performance. Okay, so these are the pointers which you'll have to remember: row based file format and row based versus column based file format. Okay, any questions? So there will be a little theoretical at the beginning, because these are like theoretical concepts, we can't skip this. Okay, let's try to see different file formats now. Okay, so after this I'll try to show practical, only this is like theoretical. So there are different file formats. So the first file format is ORC. ORC is nothing but your object row columnar. Okay, so it is nothing but your column based file format. Now we understand what is row based file format and column based file format, so I'll not go into it. Okay, second thing is ORC is best suited. So ORC file format is best suited when it is best suited when working with Hive but not other platforms. Okay, so that is one of the advantage with Hive, but disadvantage of the ORC, you can say. So ORC file format works best with your Hive. That's why if you see, if you recall the concept of bucketing, okay, so that's why like the table should be in the ORC file format. Well, the asset transactions also, I guess we have seen that concept. Okay, and there is one more thing why ORC is better, because as compared to other file formats, okay, ORC consumes less storage. Okay, so it tries to take less storage and gives, so it tries to take less storage, maybe up to 70 to 80% as compared to, where is the person, yeah, as compared to other file formats, and gives optimal performance. Okay, so these are the 3 pointers. Not only these 3 pointers are there are many more pointers. Okay, if you Google it, you will get lot of pointers, but I remember only these 3, because when I go for interviews and if they are asking me about the different file formats, I try to say only these formats, and I am able to pretty justify what are these file formats with these 3 statements. Okay, so it's not only these 3, but there are more. If you want more, you can Google it and add it to your things, but as of now I am saying you the 3. So what is ORC? ORC is column based file format. ORC file format is best suited when working with Hive but not other platforms. Let's say other platforms like Pig, let's say Flume, or let's say Spark, etc. So that is not best supported. Okay, it is best supported only with Hive. Okay, ORC stores data in a less, it consumes less data, it consumes less storage, because it internally it has the index functionality scanning. Okay, and it stores the less data and gives optimal performance. Okay, try to remember these 3 these three pointers, and this will always give you things. Okay, the second format is nothing but your Parquet file format, and this is the frequently used file formats in many projects which you would be seeing if you get a chance to work on Hadoop Spark projects. Okay, Parquet file format. Let's understand what is Parquet file format. Again, this Parquet file format is column based file format. Okay, second thing, Parquet file format. So Parquet file format has good compatibility. Okay, it has good compatibility with all platforms. That is one of the advantages if you compare with this ORC. So it has good compatibility with all platforms like Hive, HDFS, Spark, Cassandra, etc. Just to name a few. Okay. Third thing is Parquet provides faster reads and slower writes. We know why this is performing faster reads, because the file format is column based file format, right? So to write the data in a column based file format, so we have seen write is not easy but reads are fast. So that's why Parquet provides faster reads and slower writes. Okay, and Parquet, this is one of the most important point. So Parquet internally stores the schema of that file. So if you see, we know what is metadata and what is data. If we want to create a table, first we create a metadata of that data, then we try to dump the data. Okay, so what happens in what happens in Parquet file format is the Parquet file format internally stores the metadata. So when it comes to Spark, we do not need to define the metadata explicitly. Again, there is a different scenarios, so let's not go into there. Just remember, we do not need to define explicit metadata declaration when it comes to Parquet file format. Why? Because it internally stores the metadata. That's why, again, it is one of the advantage of my Parquet file format. Okay, so these are four different pointers which I remember. Again, these are not only, there are many. You can again Google. If you want to add, you can add. It's your call. Okay, and the third is Avro file format. Okay, so again, like we will be seeing one of the project tomorrow. Okay, so that would be based on this file format. Okay, let's understand. So this is not a this is not a column based format. So file format is a row based file format. So that is the first difference. Second difference, row based we have seen. Okay, so what does, so Avro, okay, Avro provides what it provides. Avro provides, okay, efficient writes, or we can say faster writes, but okay, but slower reads. Okay, vice versa. Correct? Why? Because it's a row based file format, and as we have seen in the row based file format, write is easy. That's why if you see over here, so it is performing faster read but slower read, faster writes but slower reads. Same way, the different file formats, column based. Okay, one of the very good advantage of Avro is Avro supports schema evolution. This is one of the very important point. If you say only this point, even if you say these 2 points in interviews, that is very much sufficient. Okay, but this is very important. Avro supports schema evaluation. SCHE, schema evaluation. Okay, so what it means with the schema evaluation is, let's say today I am receiving 10 columns. So if I have my file format of Avro, so I can go with like 10 columns. What if tomorrow I'm getting 15 columns in spite of 10 columns? I don't need to change the code, or I didn't need to change anything, because Avro internally is self-efficient to handle that schema so that the 15 columns can be read and write. Okay, but when it comes to Parquet, it will not be able to do that. We need to apply a certain mechanism or different mechanism to do that. So that's why if there is a schema evolution, it handles very perfectly. So it depends from project to project. If the schema is dynamically changing daily or maybe weekly or whatever the frequency would be, we opt for Avro file format. But most of the time you would see your file format will be Parquet. And again, the compression, default compression for Parquet file format is Snappy. One more pointer is Avro is ideal. So as it's a row based file format, Avro is ideal for querying all columns. It is not ideal for querying only few columns. It is ideal for querying all columns. Like let's select all the columns from your table name, because as it's a row based file format, it will give me a good performance. Okay, so these are the three file formats which we need to remember, because if you go with Scoop and Hive, again there are like other binary file formats, but most important, these are the binary formats, and people try to ask question on these binary file formats in the interviews only. Okay, any questions on the theoretical session which we covered today? So the first one was, we saw like what is serialization and deserialization. That is nothing but your survey. Today we'll try to see that survey, or if not tomorrow. Then we saw the second concept of row based file format and column based file format. After that we saw individual file formats. Okay, so any questions till here? So if not, then we'll try to see how we can do small things.
Yes, sir. Can you can you tell me that one more time? I mean, row file format versus column file format. I mean, how we store.
So if you see over here, let's go to here. Okay, so row based file format. So what is happening in row based format? Let's say I have 4 columns. When the data is coming, so the entire data is getting stored in a row. Okay, so if you see, to this column, to this data is mapped. Okay, no issues in that. But if you see, all the data of these 4 columns are separated one after the other. But when it comes to your column based file format, if you see, no doubt these are your column names, but if you see, after 101 over here we had the column ename column, which is the name of the employee. But here in the employee ID or in the column based file format, pertaining to this column we are having the entire data. Let's say we are having 1000 records, so all the 1000 records will be separated by a comma. If you see, after E there is, then the second column will be coming and that data would be coming. Then the third column would be coming and its data would be coming. But here the data is stored in a row based format one by one in a new line. But when it comes to over here, so it will be storing one after the other. So that is the storage which takes place in your row based and column based file format.
Okay, so how this write is not easy in the column based format.
How write is not easy means, like if again one record will come, again it needs to go for every column and it needs to find out what is the end indexing of this array. Okay, and once it identifies the end of this indexing array, then it needs to write the data again, like so it needs to traverse through the entire data, and then it needs to write the data. Same way, it needs to traverse through the entire record and write the data, because it needs to write the data at the end. again it needs to traverse, and so on. But when it comes to your file format, it just go and dump the data. Like let's say this is 104th record, and it will just dump the data. It will not traverse to individual record at the end, and then it will write the data. So that's why writes are not easy in your column file format.
So in reading the data, so it will directly
Dump the data, because we don't need to go like it's just like a row based file format. Whatever is the last line, it just go there and it inserts the data, nothing else.
yeah, fine, got it.
Okay, are we good?
Yes, it.
Okay, so let's try to see the Parquet file format. Okay, so how we can handle the Parquet file format data. Okay, so Parquet data, sorry. What I will try to do is I will try to do a scoop import. Okay, and let's try to see step by step, and then how I can use my store means Parquet file format, and how I can see the data. I will try to show you. Okay, how you have to use your Surdays. Okay, let's see that. Okay, so first what I would be doing is, okay, let me go over here and let me see. So HDFS DFS, okay, -ls. So user Cloudera Hadoop file system, there is an input folder. So let me see if I have my, I'll be importing my departments. Okay, there are a lot of things. So okay, so it is there. So what I would do is depart DEPARTMENTS. So I frequently make typo errors. So let me remove this directory, okay, because I would be doing a fresh import. I can use my delete target directory option also, no issues in that, but let me just do a quick erase. Now what I will try to do, I will try to do a scope import, okay, and let me see my password file, ls-ltr. Do I have my password file? Yes, I do have my password file over here also. Cool. Let me do a scope import, okay. So what I'm trying to do, scope import -- connect with the JDBC connection. I'm trying to connect to MySQL database on a local host with the port 3306. And what is the database name? The database name is retail_db. Cool. Which is the table I'm trying to import? I'm trying to import departments. Okay, either you can write in a single line or you can write in a multiple line. It's your call, as you are comfortable. I am comfortable in writing single line. I can go with single line. Okay, no issues. If you, let's go with like not an issue. It's just a small difference. We just need to say small things. Let's go like people, how you are writing. I'll go with that method. Okay. So -- table department. With after that I just need to say username. What is my username? Username is Cloudera. Okay, Cloudera. Okay, then I need to use password file. Okay, so where is the password file? It is at a certain location. So let me place this. Okay, let me come to the new line. Cool, that is done. Now do I need to write at a certain location? It's my choice. Yes, I can do that. How? With the target directory option. If I don't do that, where the data would be written? Under user home directory. Anything is fine. Either you can go with target direction, you cannot go with direction. It's your call. Let me go with target directory. So what is my path? User Cloudera Hadoop file system, the input directory, and under that I need to have let's say Parquet file format. Okay, file format dpt table, something like this name I can give. Okay, and by default what is the file format? -- text file. So what I need to give, I need to change the file format. So what file format I need to say? I need to say Parquet file format. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to do a scope import on my departments table to this location with a Parquet file format. Let me copy this.
Saif, here the username would be root, right?
No, I'm using my Cloudera. So what is the username? Root?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So let me use the let me use this, execute this, and let's see what are the errors, if any, we try to see. We try to mitigate it. Okay, so there is one error. So it is telling, okay, so remember we got the same error yesterday and we encountered with a small change. So let me do that change. So that was just nothing but a addition of your, so let me add that. Okay, I have added that change, and let me execute this now. Cool, it is getting executed. Let it get executed, and it will write the data to a particular directory. We'll try to see that data. Are we able to view that data with the either my cat command or with my text command in the HDFS? If not, then how to overcome this scenario? Let's try to see that. So the MapReduce job is getting executed. So we all know, like, what is the, when the scoop job gets executed, what are the things getting performed? So the data is selected from the table just to test. Okay, then what happens? Then the min and max boundaries are allocated. Then the different number of default mappers are aligned to it, because the parallel import needs to happen, and then your MapReduce job gets executed. Okay, so if we recall the scoop session, very beginning first session, I have already explained this slowly and steadily, so I'm just recalling that. So if you see, it has 6 records. Okay, so let me verify the data. Okay, let me clear off this HDFS DFS -ls user Cloudera Hadoop file system input. Okay, so it was like Parquet file format underscore dpt, correct? Something like this. Let's see. Cool. Can you see, after each part file there is a dot Parquet written over here? Okay, let's try to view this. Let me copy this and let me clear off the screen. HDFS DFS -cat, and let me paste this, and let's try to view the data. See, I'm not able to view the data, right? If you see, as I told you, if you remember one point in the, if you remember one point in Parquet, so it internally stores the schema of that file. That's what I told you. Can we see the schema over here? Can we see the schema? So that's what it is, internally storing the schema. No issues, that is there. But let's try to see, if I use my text command, remember the text command. So with this text command, am I able to see the data? Let's try to verify. Again, with the text command also, I am not very able to verify the data. Okay, so here, like earlier scenarios, if I was using the .gz format, like the compressed format, so with the text command I was able to view the data, but here I'm not able to view the data. So what I need to do is, I need to use certain days to overcome this. Okay, let's try to see how to do that. Okay, cool. So what I can do is simply, okay, let me just see the file. Okay, so okay, I was using department, so I think it has 2 columns, right? So department ID and what was the data? Let me connect to the MySQL database. Okay, MySQL user root -b Cloudera, and let me use the retail DB. Okay, and let me just describe the departments table. Okay, we have department ID and we have department name. So I'll need to create a table. Okay, let's try to see. So let me create an external table, and let's say what the table name I should give. Anything, let's say Parquet. Okay, and Parquet file format, anything, so that is fine. So someone is not on mute, can be some. Okay, so I'm trying, thank you. So I'm trying to take my department ID, okay, as a column, so that is of integer, and the second column is department name. Okay, so that is of my type string. Cool. What we used to write after this? Simple, like row format, delimited fields terminated by comma. Okay, so if you see, if you go to your HDFS file system, I do not have a header. If I don't have a header, I need to not write that properties of something, if you recall. Okay, and simple, you just need to write stored as Parquet. This is the only addition. Ideally, if you remember the entire Serde formats, like what is the entire Serde formats of Parquet, like org.apache.hadoop, hive.ql.io input Parquet Serde. So you can write that, or else you can simply go for this. Let's see how. I will show you what I am talking about. Let me clear off the screen. Okay, and let's hit this. Okay, if you see, the table is created. Now if I just say show create table and my table name, so this is what I was talking about, input format. So I was talking about, if you just I just said org.apache.hadoop. Okay, then I said hive qlio Parquet and the input format. I did not say all this Parquet input format and Parquet output format. I just said stored as Parquet. That's it. I don't need to say anything. Okay, so let me say select all the records from Parquet underscore ff. Okay, I do not see the data. Why? Because while creating the table, I did not use my location. Okay, if I did not use my location, then what I need to do? I need to I need to load the data. How I can do that? Load data local in path. Where is the path? The path is home Cloudera local file system, and the file name is, what is the file name? No, not here. Not here. So we have already done the scoop import, right? So it will be at my HDFS location, and this is the location. Sorry. So it will not be load data local. So it would be just what I can do is I can. Okay. So I'll just remove this load data in path, and this is my path because the data is already written under this directory. So user Cloudera Hadoop file system input, and the directory name is Parquet underscore ff underscore dpt. Okay, and let's say override into what is my table name. My table name is prqt underscore ff. Let me copy this. Let me load the data. Okay, so there is an issue. So what it is telling? Okay, so end of the file is missing. I have missed the table as a keyword. So let me write that. Let me copy this. Let me execute this. Okay, so something is done, and let's see the data now. Okay, now can you see we have the data? Any questions till here? How to load the data by using a Parquet Serde? Okay, if you want to create a table with a location keyword, if you don't want to load the data, we can do that also. Just say this, and we can just write location as a keyword, and we can just paste the entire path over here also. Simple, nothing else. So what I need to do, I just need to copy this syntax. A new table would be created. Again, there is one issue. So what it is telling, okay, so I think this needs to come down, what I am assuming. So location is this. Yeah, let's see. Okay, so if you see, the table got created, and if I just quickly view the data, I should be able. Okay, so why it is not able to? Stored as Parquet user Cloudera Hadoop input. Okay, can anyone say why I am not able to read the data?
File name is needed there.
No. I'll just pause for some time because you might some. So are we able to see the data over here? Now can someone answer?
Because then we use the load data, so
Perfect.
the file will move to folder.
But you need to say that word you just missed, Roshan. You said the answer 99% right. I just want that word.
I mean, it will move to the folder.
No.
File.
Load data. With that load data, there is one word which you need to say.
I mean, from the load data HDFS system.
Okay. Yeah. Your answer is perfectly right. But you need to say load data in path.
Yeah.
Load data local in path, which means it will be copy paste.
Yes.
Correct? So you need to say that word explicitly. See, these are the things. If your concepts are clear, so we need to pick this like on a. Once you see the data or why I'm doing this now. See, now I know what I was doing because previously I used my local inpath command because I know it's a cut and paste. That's why if you see, I'm not able to see the data. I'm able to see only the metadata. Okay. So this is how like your confidence will come up. Okay, because if you know the concepts, so whatever the errors, if you see there are few errors which came, like end of the file I was missing the table name, so the password file like file colon triple something was missing. So once you do practice the concepts and your hands on, so these things should come instantly and quickly, because in interviews they will expect a little quickly, but not so quickly. You can take time, but at least it should be a certain quick response. Got it? So what I'll have to do now, again I'll have to import the table and I'll have to load the data. So you can do this. I will not do that. So before this, what you need to do is, again you'll have to execute this. Okay, so I'm just pasting this over here. So once I share this in WhatsApp, so you can go with this. So this is like second method with location. Okay, so here you might face an error, this directory is available. Okay, so just let me just name it as 1, so you will not face that error also. Okay, so are we able to understand how we can load the data with a Parquet file format and how we can create a Parquet file format table? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so the same thing it will go with Avro file format. Okay, so as we have seen with Parquet, now let's try to see with Avro file format. Okay, nothing else, it's just small changes here and there which I need to make quick changes. So let me copy this and let me just quickly move ahead. So let's say Avro data. I think someone is not unmuted. Please feel free. Once you have the questions, you can unmute yourself. Thank you. So let's try to do scoop import. Okay, so scoop import, so I'm just trying to make copy paste. So okay, so just to save some time. Okay, scoop import, connect with your JDBC connection. I'm trying to import my same table. Okay, so now this is already available. What I need to say, hyphen delete target directory, right? Otherwise it will throw me an error, or else again I'll be using a different file format, so it should not throw an error. Let's see. Okay, if it gives an error, we'll try to mitigate that. And what will be the file format now? It will be Avro data file format, nothing else. No change in my scoop import command. Let me copy this, let me go over here, let me execute this. So let it get executed. Till the time it is getting executed, I will create my Avro. Okay, simple. And here I just need to say stored as Avro. So it will take your surday which are necessary for this. Okay, so if you see your MapReduce job is getting executed. Okay, let's wait for your MapReduce job to get completed. And what we can do is, now we'll try to create a table with location. Okay, without so earlier we had seen without location. Okay, and when I was trying to show with location, again I need to do that something extra. So here we'll try to do with location, and without location you can do. Okay, so let me just write the location keyword. Okay, and I just need to change the directory name, nothing else, correct? So that should be taken care. Okay, so I just need to create one table for the data which I have imported. Okay, row format delimited. So I would be using a Avro Survey internally, because I'm not writing all those input format, output format Survey. Okay, and the data which is been located at. Let's see whether the import is completed. Yes, 6 records are done. Let me create this table in my Hive terminal. Let me copy this. Let me go over here and let me hit this. And let's try to select the data from this table. Can we see the data now? Quickly I was able to see the data, because here I did not have to use my load command. Why? Because I'm pointing to the location directory, and under that location directory, which is nothing but this, okay, I'm having the entire part file data. So if you go to your HDFS DFS-ls and to this location, we should be able to see the 4 part files which Scoop imported. Okay, so that's why I'm directly pointing to this location and I'm able to see the data quickly. If I would have went without location, what I need to do, I just need to use my load data command and I just need to load the data. Okay, but there is a drawback. What is the drawback? So once I use my load data in path command, let's say if other person wants to use that directory, and if he as the next developer wants to point to that directory and play with something, then it won't be available. Again, he need to do a scope import and etc. So for that purpose, we will always create a table externally, so that even if we drop the table, the underlying metadata will always be available for other developer in the dev environment if he is trying to reference the same file. Understood the importance of external table and the location, which I have already explained at the beginning, but as the scenario has come over here, so I'm just reiterating things. Are we able to understand the, and if you see, I did not define any file format. So if you see, I just said show what you say, I just told stored as Avro, but internally it has used certain file formats. If you see stored as input format, again the same, org.apache Hadoop, HiveQL Avro, and Avro input format and Avro output format. So these are the which we called the Survey, and if you see, this is the Survey which it is using. I did not highlighted this earlier. Okay, so if we try to use, what was my table name, Parquet underscore ff PRQT. Okay, so if you see, it is using which Survey it is using Parquet Hive Survey. Did I mention this? No, I just instructed while creation stored as Parquet. Internally, it all the mechanism of using my serialization and deserialization. I did not do that. So are we able to understand the surveys and the different file formats?
Saif, there is no way we can read directly from the HDFS if it is Parquet file.
Yes. There is like one small hindrance to it.
Okay. And this Avro file, if we do a cat on the HDFS,
same way, it will like all that scattered and zipped, like something like that garbage data it shows like. So for that purpose, what we do is like we create tables or we mount tables on top of the HDFS file system and see the data. That's how like it's practiced in the projects. And mostly we see Parquet file formats only, because whatever the projects which we have, like, but again, it's not, see, I am telling my experience. So other different accounts, as I told you yesterday, So in the same account, we are having two modules. I am working on a Spark Hive projects like Spark Scala with all the Hadoop ecosystems. But one of my friend, so she's working with mostly like Scoop and Hive. It depends from module to module, and it depends from architecture to architecture. Okay, purely depends on how the layout of the project is, what is the requirement, and etc. etc. Okay, so that also depends. So I'll stop the session. Sorry, not